Hey everyone, welcome to Moving Matt. We do vlogs, travel, and some camera stuff. And today I want to go over the Sony A1 versus the Canon EOS R1 and what I think it will take for Canon to match or even exceed what Sony has done with the A1. Now, I did a video last week talking about the 5 advantage that I think the R5 has over the A1, and of course that went over without any divisiveness. And I still stand by what I said about the R5's advantages, but what I also said in that video is that the Sony A1 is a feat of engineering and has a leg up on the R5 in many ways. And considering this is Sony's flagship camera, it should really be compared to the up-and-coming Canon's flagship, tentatively named the R1. Not much is known about the R1, and when I say not much, I mean practically nothing, and so that really gives me free reins to create this A1 killer myself. But I will still try to keep it based in somewhat reality, kinda, maybe, but without further ado and running the risk of alienating Sony and Canon fans alike, let's get into it. The first thing I think Canon needs to do is really more of a philosophical change, so let me get into that before I get into the actionable steps. One brilliant thing that I think Sony is doing with the A1 is really broadening up the market. Of course, this is a super fast action camera like the A9, but it also encompasses the high resolution of the Sony A7R series, and even tops a lot of the video specs of the A7S III. This is really an all-in-one camera, an all-one, an A1, you get it? Okay, I'll stop. The point I'm making is that Sony is recognizing the shift and the shrinking of the market, and I hope and believe Canon is too. The Canon R1 doesn't only need to be focused on sports and high action photographers. Of course, take care of them and give them what they want. They are a loyal fan base, but also add features that are going to bring other users, such as videographers, into the mix. This is nothing really 100% new for Canon. The 1DX Mark II really had some revolutionary video features for a DSLR camera, and many travel filmmakers, documentary makers, documentarists. So with them adopting the give them all they want philosophy, what should the EOS R1 have? First, take care of the loyal fan base. This needs to have the fastest frames per second of any camera. That includes the Sony A1. Kinda. So the 1DX Mark III already has a faster mechanical shutter than the A1. It shoots 16 frames per second versus the A1's 10 frames per second. So if they're able to keep that the same and bump up the electronic shutter to 30 frames per second, I think that's already a win. If they do this second thing, which is to bring up the megapixel count to at least 45 or whatever is necessary for 8K. I've been of two minds on this. At first I was thinking they really do not need the larger count because it isn't trying to do 8K or be a landscape camera, but after seeing what the A1 has done and what has been rumored about the Nikon Z9, I think not having a large enough sensor to do 8K is going to be a mistake. The Olympics and other events are already going to shoot in 8K, and while the majority will be shot with broadcast cameras, there's obviously a need for smaller hybrid 8K cameras as well. But while we were talking about being small, I think that the R1 should be bigger than the A1, but smaller than the 1DX. So why do I think this? Well, first, all the fan base seems to love the way the 1DX feels in the hand, so you want to make sure they are satisfied, maybe even have that built-in bottom grip, even though I think that having an attachable grip is a good solution as well. The bigger body also helps with 8K, but more on that later. A bigger body also allows for 2 CF Express Type B cards, and side note, those dual cards better do dual everything and not just photos, so there are some benefits to being big.
That's what she said.
But I do think they should go along with the times as well, so making it smaller than the 1DX will help them appeal to a larger market. And while we are talking about the camera body and appealing to a larger market, give us a flip screen. Honestly, if the A1 would have given us a high quality flip screen like the one found in the R5, I may have conceded the camera wars and declared Sony the victor. But they didn't, and I think that gives Canon a big opportunity here. Unlike Sony, who apparently doesn't want to upset a group of photographers who don't want to flip out a screen before tilting it, the 1DX doesn't have a problem, because the 1DX did not have a flip screen or a tilt screen. So it's all upside for Canon. Give us a flip screen and take my money. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be an incredible photography camera, and I think we pretty much all know that. So let's go more in depth on the video specs and how they can improve things. So let's get the obvious thing out of the way. It needs 8K that doesn't overheat. While I contend that the 8K RAW and the 10-bit 422 is an advantage that the R5 has over the A1, according to all the tests coming out of the Sony so far, basically it doesn't overheat. Potato Jet put it in the oven at 39 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees American, and it lasted 69 minutes. The R5 has improved its overheating in many ways with firmware, but I don't see it getting to that level. But the R1, if it does have a larger body like I think it will, and the rumors are suggesting, then it can have no overheating 8K. And we know that Canon can make an internal 8K RAW, so make that happen, and in my opinion, your 8K already has a leg up. But hell, give it 8K 60 with a 10-minute record limit, and let's just see what happens. But speaking of recording limits, other than if you're doing some silly thing like 8K 60, which probably won't happen, just get rid of those damn record limits. There's no longer a tax with cameras with no record limit, and Sony has already gotten rid of them, and there's nothing holding you back from doing the same. Unless you are protecting some cinema line, and you wouldn't do that, would you, Canon? But there's more to good video than just resolution, and an area where I think Sony is absolutely making it happen, and I'm envious, is the dynamic range. According to tests by Gerald Undone, the Sony A1 has 13.2 stops of actual dynamic range, which is even better than the Sony A7S III, and it really puts it in a league with cinema cameras. Some rumors have said that the R1 will have a dual gain sensor similar to what is found in the C70, which would be excellent. But whatever the tech is you need to bring in, Canon, I don't care, but step up the dynamic range game. And another thing to help do that is to bring in all the log profiles. Sony has a ridiculous amount of log and HDR profiles available in this camera, and they've even added S-Cinetone. Canon, give us C-Log 1, 2, and 3, and whatever else you got. Sony isn't holding back, and you shouldn't either. I kind of feel like this video has turned into me trying to coach Canon, being like, Sony is kicking your ass, now get back out there and give them hell. We're gonna lose. But we don't have to. I already believe that Canon has the better IBIS if they can figure out the wobbles. Most people would already concede the color science, menus, and touch functionality to Canon. So really, if Canon can improve upon the things that I've mentioned, then we really do have a good fight on our hands. And I think that is really what it's all about. I currently shoot Canon and some Fujifilm, and I've shot Sony in the past. I am personally not a fanboy for either side. I want the best camera from both companies, because if they keep fighting, then it's really us, the customers, who win. Did I win both sides back with that little speech there at the end? Probably not. But if you did happen to like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and drop in the comment section below and give me your thoughts on the R1. Is there something else that you think it needs to add? How do you think that the R1 will stack up against the A1? If you enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing, and until next time, peace.